What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Nothing But Skills, bringing you guys another Division 2 video. Today's video is going to be talking about player count, player base. Is it down? I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this topic on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, all over the place. I've been seeing people talk about, oh, the player base is down, or I'll get comments in my videos talking about it. And I wanted to give you my personal opinion on it. Do I really think that the player base is down right now? And do I think that Division 2 is on a downward spiral? Well, we'll get into that in just a second. Before we do, I want you guys to let me know, what do you guys think about the player base in Division 2? Do you guys have a lot of friends who've taken a break, quitting, don't like playing the game anymore? Have you taken a break? Are you still playing? I recently did a poll on my YouTube channel, and I had a question asking, how many times do you play Division 2 weekly? And the one that won was 5 to 6 times a week. And 5 to 6 times a week to win, it was about 70% of the people answered. That's still a lot of time to be playing the Division 2. So for me to see that many people still playing the game, that already gives me a sign that there are people that are still playing the game, and there is a big player base that is still playing it. Now, I'm going to talk about my friends list. On my friends list, I have friends in real life that have taken a break from playing the game, but a lot of them have maxed out and they are just waiting for the update because they don't really want to invest in recalibrating their gear when a lot of the talents are changing. And I can see that happening. I can see people not playing as much because they were waiting for the update to come in. And next week we will have the update, right? And I can see a lot of people coming back once they know, okay, the talents are set, now we can create our builds. And with them buffing armor, buffing health, trying to increase the TTK so people can make plays, I feel like that'll bring back a lot of the PvP community. And then of course the PvE guys will finally be able to concentrate on building their builds ready for that raid, because the raid should be here within 1 to 2 weeks. We will find out early next week when the raid is dropping. So I'm excited to find out exactly when we will have our raid, because I'm building my character too. I'm actually on PC right now where I don't have a PvE character. On PS4 I'm set. I have PvE, PvP builds fully ready to go, but on PC I just got to 500 gear score and all my gear pieces are just randomly thrown together. So I'm leveling up, trying to get my specializations leveled up, and then hopefully I can throw together a build within the next week. But that still doesn't answer the question, right? Is the player base down right now in the Division 2? Have we lost the Division 2 community? I think the player base is still here. I think there's still a lot of people who are playing, and I feel that once the update does drop, once the raid does drop, we should have that influx of players back playing the game. Now, depending on how good the raid is, how hard it is, how it keeps people engaged, is really going to determine whether the player base for PvE stays. Because I can tell that a lot of people, even on PvE, are a little bored with the game right now. They say it's a little repetitive. That's what I've been hearing in the community. Even the PvP guys say that PvP is not as fun. Everybody really wants to see what's going to happen with this update. Everybody wants to see, is the TTK going to improve? Is gun battles going to improve? Is the dark zone going to be another place for people to play that people will actually have fun playing in? And that PvP engagement that we had in Division 1 takes place in Division 2 in the dark zone, not the empty dark zone that we have right now. But the developers have already addressed that, and they realize that the dark zone is a place that a lot of people aren't engaging in. And I can agree that the dark zone right now has a couple problems, and one of them has to be that nobody really needs to go into the dark zone to farm. Imagine in Division 1 when we had to go into the dark zone to get those really good gear sets, to get those exotic weapons, because you had a higher chance of getting them. Now in Division 1, that's not the case. So everybody can fully max out in PvE without ever having to step into the dark zone. Now the PvE community loves that. They love having to not have to step into the dark zone. The PvP community doesn't really like it because it forces people to not have to really engage to get really good gear. This also creates another issue. Even PvP guys are now farming in PvE areas because it's easier to level up there first, then go into the dark zone. And that's another issue we have. Well, if nobody's really leveling up in the dark zone, when people go into dark zone, it's straight PvP, and then all the fights are happening at the checkpoint. And you see this a lot in the occupied zone, right? In the occupied zone, a lot of the fights happen right in front of the checkpoint. You die, you respawn, you fight again, you die, you respawn, you fight again, and it's over and over the same thing. Nobody's really engaging in those landmarks. Nobody's really fighting in the streets of the DZ. Nobody's making those plays like we used to see in Division 1. And that causes a big issue with the PvP community, because if you die within 1 to 2 seconds, well, you have to go all the way to checkpoint. Nobody wants to wait at that landmark for you to come back. They'll go to the checkpoint and they'll just fight you. And that can be a real issue when people really want to have a good PvP experience, because PvP isn't fun when you die within the first 2 seconds and you're just respawning, coming out of the checkpoint, doing the same thing over and over, because this isn't fun at all. What you're seeing right here is typically what happens during PvP in the ODZ, and that isn't the type of PvP action that we had back in the day on Division 1. And I see where the PvP community is coming from, right? I can see their frustrations, how they might have taken a little break, but I feel this whole update that's about to drop next week is going to change the game. And I feel that with having a higher TTK, with having higher armor, higher health rolls, that will make a big difference in the Division 2 PvP, not only in the ODZ, but also in normalized and also in conflict. Do I think a lot of people took a break from the Division 2? Yes. Do I think the player count is down and out? No. I don't think the player count is gone. I don't think the player base is gone. I think they're just might have been taking maybe a week break, maybe a couple days break, maybe they're just taking a break. But I think it all had to do with the update, right? Because a lot of people, including myself, you know, when you're grinding every single day, you get those gear scores of 500, you set up your builds, you really get a lot of really good pieces, and you might be maxed out. I think I'm fully maxed out on stash space and on my character on PlayStation. So on PlayStation, I have almost everything I want for the next update, and then I can just tweak what I need to with the changes to the talents. And this could be happening to a lot of people. So what are you really grinding for when you had to wait to see what changes were really going to happen, right? There was a PTS going on, they had 2 phases of it, and we really didn't know what talents were getting nerfed all the way, what requirements we're going to need. Because in the Division 2 versus Division 1, it's all about those stat requirements. So your offensive, your defensive, and your skill power stats, how you match those up can determine how much damage output you're putting, right? Like the 377 build right now is really popular. I can see that changing around to 3117, stuff like that. You can see big builds coming out in the future, and some of the talents are going to require you to have high offensive rolls. Some are going to have low offensive rolls, and they did that so we can get a little bit more build diversity, kind of balance the game a little bit. And I can't wait to see the type of builds that we're able to put together once the update happens. But remember, that can't happen until the update came out. So a lot of people didn't want to spend those materials, didn't want to spend that money to recalibrate gear, which they might have to recalibrate in the future, right? Because if you spend all this money or you spend all these crafting materials to recalibrate a piece of gear right now, it was kind of a waste, unless you're like me who creates content that you need to make builds, right? You can't wait 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to create content, right? Because I can't wait that long to create content. I have to create content that is ready at this moment. So if that's creating builds that people can use right now, right here, right this second, that means that I'm going to put out those builds. And that's what I did. But I did hold off on a lot of builds that I had in mind, because just like you, crafting materials, money doesn't come cheap. So once I start doing this, the pieces that I might need in the future, that piece might no longer be good, right? Like I might ruin it by re-rolling a talent that I really don't need, but I needed a different role. So those things can make a big difference, and that's why being careful with what pieces you have, saving a lot of pieces right now is probably the best thing to do. So I'm expecting the update to come out on Tuesday. This isn't confirmed, but usually our updates have always came out on a Tuesday. This going all the way back to Division 1. All of our major updates did release on a Tuesday. Now this may change, but I'm expecting Tuesday from the date of this video being released is when we'll get our next major update. And that day can't come any sooner, because I'm ready to start rolling my gear pieces, putting out builds, and then hopefully get my PvE builds ready for the raid. What do you guys think about the raid? What do you guys expect from the raid? Do you expect one of the hardest missions in the game? Do you expect it to be super easy? I want the raid to be so hard that you have to figure out a puzzle to get to the next stage. So whether it's killing certain bosses certain ways or finding different clues, I just really want something that makes you think outside of the box. If you guys ever played any raids like on Destiny 1, there were a lot of raids that had little puzzles that you had to figure out, and that's what I'm hoping for the Division 2 raids. I'm hoping we have something that's not straightforward, that we have to think out of the box, that we have to have clues to solve. And that, in my opinion, will keep people engaged with the raid, right? Like if you have something that's really hard to complete and then you get a really good reward, that's why people will want to keep doing the raid. Like people wanted to do the raid in Destiny for the raid gear sets, and that's really what I would love to see. Like have some really random drops for the gear sets from the raid, so you randomly have to keep doing it to get those drops. Like you might have to beat it 100 times to finally complete a raid gear set and make those gear sets so good that people want to keep doing those raids over and over and over. And then after you make them really hard to get, after you put really good rolls on them, you need to make them look different, like make them look really cool. I used to play the Hunter on Destiny, and I want to say that the raid gear sets for the Hunter looked amazing. When you put them on and you had the full raid gear set, you looked badass, and that's what I would like to see in the Division 2. I would like to see something unique from the raid, so that way people are engaged and they're like, you know what, I want to keep doing the raid. This raid is so hard, but I want to keep trying at it because the gear set you get, the gear piece you get, if you can complete it, it's worth it. And I feel that keeping people grinding for something in long term is what makes people keep playing this game. Grinding for gear in Division 1 was really hard, and it made a lot of people keep playing the game. Now later in Division 1, grinding for gear came really easy, right? You could grind a full 6-piece classified striker set, which was one of the better sets near the end of the game, in less than a week. And it wasn't always like that. The grind is what made people play, and I feel that we need to get some kind of balance between how long it should take us, how the grind should be, and that will keep people playing. Just like Destiny, you grind for gear when they drop a raid, when they drop new exotics, you grind for those, but that takes time. So if we could get back to a balance between having to grind for really good gear, gear that looks different, that, in my opinion, will make the player base stay long term. Let me know what you guys think about the player base. Do you guys think it's down? Do you guys think the player base is still the same? Use the comment section. Remember, if you guys found this video useful, always leave a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, first time watching a video, hit the subscribe button, turn notification bell on, so when I release a video, you guys get notified. Until the next video, nothing but skills out.